My computer. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another regularly scheduled meeting of the Marquette Township Board. It's Tuesday, September 18th, and if you'll join us in the pledge, we'd appreciate it. He's all ready. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Be an interesting hour. All right, roll call, please, Randy.
Trustee LaRue.
Here.
Trustee Wiegand.
Here.
Trustee Everson.
Here.
Trustee Marks.
Present.
Treasurer Johnson.
Here.
Clerk Rattari is here, and Supervisor Durant.
Here.
Staff present is Manager Gerard, Township Attorney Roger Zappa, Township Planner, Zoning Administrator Jason McCarthy is here, and Superintendent of Public Works Kirk Page is here.
What happened to Jason?
He's here. He just went and
He's just floating? Okay. Public comment. Does anybody wish to address the board?
I do.
Absolutely. Come on up to the podium. Name and address, please.
Okay. My name is Karen Stabile, and I live at 2233 Huron Street. Huron Street was repaved last year, and bit curves were put in along with some new aprons installed. And since then, I've had a significant amount of water that's running into my property. The water issues that we were experiencing before they put the new roads in were causing a lot of issues in the area. So our neighborhood agreed to install the 3-inch bit curves instead of the standard 1.5-inch bit curves. And I think what's happened is the bit curve on my property wasn't configured properly, because you can see, if you go down the street, you can see the rise on everybody's property, but around my driveway and on each side of it, it's flat. So all that water is running into my property and flooding it out, taking my patio out, and really putting my basement at risk. So it's kind of nerve-wracking every time it rains. I think, I don't know how asphalt works, but, hopefully there would be a simple solution to this. Someone suggested that maybe they could just get some hot blacktop and form it into a ridge along that area on both sides of my driveway and along the edge of the driveway and compress it down, and maybe that would keep the water out. I reached out to the township last October, and I was told that all the contractors were gone for the year, and so no one could come out and do any of the work. And so since then, this year, especially since these past rains, I've contacted Dave and Mr. Gerard and Pete LaRue. They've gotten information from me, videos of the water running into my property and my flooded property. So I guess I'm just here tonight to ask the board for assistance and, maybe helping me resolve this issue. Hopefully before another rainstorm, before the snow comes, and just maybe communicate with me what's going on. Randy said that they've reached out to the UP engineers and architects, but I haven't heard anything back on that, and you thought you would have a pretty quick answer for me. I think it's serious enough that it does deserve some attention, so I'm just hoping that you guys can, help me resolve this, so thank you. And I do have videos or pictures if anyone wants to see. No? Okay.
How about leaving it with the township?
They all have emailed copies,
Okay.
the video and the pictures, so.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Anybody else wish to address the board?
Hello, my name is Anya Biachuk. I live at 823 Grove Street, and I merely wanted to introduce myself to the Township Board as one of the prospective buyers of the 30-acre parcel on Grove Street. I know that we have been in discussion with the township manager as well as the attorney, and I know that we're trying to formulate some type of agreement on that pathway. So just as a mere formal appearance, I'd like to say hello and just present myself in front of you. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to address the board? Okay, we'll close public comment. Board comment in response to public comment. Anybody have any? Dave?
A comment to Ms. DeBille's comments on the road. Her the bit curb there across her driveway is 1.5 inches high. The lot next door to her residence is probably a foot and a half lower than the actual driveway. And when I looked at it, I'm not sure where the water would go if it wasn't going into that lot. From what I can see, that's about the low point in the whole road. And if it does move off to the east anywhere, it's going to move off extremely slow. And my recommendation, the manager, is without UPEA weighing in on it, I didn't see where the water was going to go if we did put a 3-inch bit curb there. It's just going to stay in the road. One of the problem was prior to the road and the bit curb going in is that water would go right off the shoulder of the road and into that lower lot. I don't know if there's an easy resolution for it. I know UPA was going to look at it, and my conversations were that has to go through the manager. I can't do anything about it. So, but that was my recommendation. I just didn't see where there was a solution for it.
Okay.
I just want to let you know, we did talk to him. We looked at the film. I turned it over to our manager, and he was going to contact the engineering. So,
It has been. It's been referred off to UPEA to Mark Devatala, and I have not gotten the response back yet.
Well, and do they even have any asphalt to use now with the strike on? Is that something they can stockpile and have some, or?
That I don't know with what's going on statewide with the strike with the operating engineers. I'm not sure where that's at in terms of availability of material. But I've asked UPEA to look at it and to provide an engineering. There are engineers for the project to provide an engineering solution.
I think before we start patching up things, see what they say and come back with, because we don't want a patch job, we want a complete job
Yeah,
to
needs
correct
to
it.
be right. Okay.
Well, and part of the problem is the same problem we have all over the township is we don't have adequate drainage. The road commission did not install adequate drainage. I shouldn't say that. That's not actually totally accurate. A lot of the drainage has been displaced by property owners as well, and ditches have been filled in, and culverts have been blocked, and a variety of things throughout the township. So it's not just in the Stabile's property. We do have, particularly with the rain events we've had the last couple of weeks, have had a number of areas that have had pretty significant damage and pretty significant water. We still don't have some areas repaved. The intersection of Fair and Vandenboom, that intersection is still in gravel after they've reconfigured that with the washout, when that culvert washed out. So they're slowly getting things fixed, but I have not gotten the engineered solution yet, or the proposed engineered solution from UPEA.
We try to give them a call tomorrow and find out, just get some kind of an update, if nothing else.
Yeah, I have. I've been emailing back and forth with Mark about trying to get a resolution. I think I just got one today from Mrs. DeVille. Yeah, I think I saw that just before I came into the meeting. Haven't read it yet, but I pretty much guess what it says. So I will be getting back in touch with Mark again. But we've been going back and forth basically with how comes and becauses and whys, but no solutions as yet.
Okay, sounds good. Down tomorrow. See what we can come up with. Any more response from the board on anything? Nope. Okay, thanks. Next up is the consent agenda. Tonight includes approval of the regular meeting draft minutes of September 4th and the draft minutes of the work session of September 6th. Bills payable in the amount of $183,755.54. And we have a budget amendment tonight, so we will do a roll call vote, and Randy can read that. 2018 tax rates request to county for township, authorizing the clerk and supervisor to sign the document. Received committee and other reports. Tonight includes Fire Department's officer meeting draft minutes of September 10th, as well as the business meeting minutes, draft minutes. Fire Chief, Fire Marshal's Office report of August, as well as the Sheriff's Department activity report, Water production report of August, and the Peter White Public Library TAC minutes of June 6th. I did not have a supervisor's report. Correspondence not requiring board action, UPCO hearing, case number U-20184 and U-20081, and August financial statements.
Move for the adoption of the consent agenda.
Support.
Motion and support. Randy?
Okay, the budget amendment for this is 2018-09, and the highlight of that budget amendment is authorization is requested to increase revenues and expenditures in the general fund for the Lions Field project. Prior budget amendment 1 and 4 were for Schwimmwood Park and the swing set projects respectively. The January payment for Schwimmwood Park was reclassified as a 2017 expenditure and applied towards the year-end fund balance. The estimated grant revenue recognized will be $95,000 in 2018, so shifting some money around.
Okay.
And just another comment, the reason the tax rate request is put into the consent agenda is because it really, we already kind of approved it, it's just a rubber stamp item, so we put it in there with the authorization of the clerk and supervisor to sign.
And you will be seeing that again when you adopt the 2019 budget. The two public hearings that you have at the end of the year is adoption of the budget and the tax levy. So you'll be seeing that again with the budget.
Okay, roll call vote is trustee Marks.
Yes.
Clerk Rattari is yes. Trustee LaRue?
Yes.
Trustee Wiegand?
Yes.
Trustee Everson?
Yes.
Treasurer Johnson?
Yes.
Supervisor Durant?
Yes.
That motion carries 7-0.
Thank you. That's for the consent agenda. I didn't realize that Anna, if I'm pronouncing it correctly, was still here. I thought I saw you leave out of my corner of my eye. I was going to put up a picture for the board, and I thought maybe Jason would stay, so I'm backing up just a little bit in case she wants to leave. I was going to show you the picture of the property, just so you have an idea. Excuse me. Randy, I don't know if you want to comment at all.
Sure. The 30 acres that we're talking about is remaining from when we purchased our Wellfield property. As you can see, basically the squiggly line going north and south there is our well road. It's the road from Grove Street back to our well house. So the property that we're talking about lies just east of that road and terminates on our eastern boundary with the Marquette Golf Course. So that's the 30 acres. The line you see running directly across it is the gas line. So there's a gas line easement across the property. And where they're proposing, where they're proposing to locate their residence is right down in this corner, literally, with the driveway coming off approximately here, running in. So that's the development that's being looked at. We are working with the. Are you actually the owners now, or are you still proposed owners? Okay, so prior to closing, we're working with them primarily because the access to the property is along our Wellfield Road, which is not a public road, it's a private road. So we're dealing with where we're going to be relocating gates and how we're going to limit access to from south from the access to their property south to the Wellfield, and details like that we're working out. And you will be seeing this come back to your October 3rd meeting.
Probably.
You'll be seeing it come back to your October 3rd meeting with an agreement between us and the owners, the parties, as to who's responsible for what and those kinds of things. So that's the property that we're talking about. It's going to be pretty interesting. It's a pretty difficult piece of property to develop.
That's the only road.
Yeah, it's the only way in. So it is landlocked otherwise. Anything that you wanted to add, Andrea?
No, that's it, just talking about that operating agreement,
Mhm.
and maintenance agreement, and talking about the gates, so just moving the we'll be asking if we could place in an automatic gate up front.
Yeah, what she's referring to is, we're looking at, where our main access gate is up front here, talking about moving it down to a location of about right here to limit access south of the field, and then what they would like to do is install their own gate up at this end to limit the access to their property, so that's what we're working on right now.
How will we get through there?
We will have full access. We will, any emergency service providing entity will, delivery things such as that, will have access to get in to service their property as well as our people to service our property. That's all part of the agreement.
So all our repairmen could
Oh, yeah.
go back and forth without any problem?
No more limitation than there
We're
is
not
now.
gonna have to go get a key and get out and come?
Nope, we'll have it.
So I just wanted to give you, yes, Dan?
Is that 30-acre parcel primarily just going to be for residential then, for your
Yes.
residents?
Yes, just for one home,
Yep.
one family.
Single-family development.
So I asked Jason to put this together for us real quick when I knew that she was coming in, or I thought maybe she was, so it was good enough to at least give you a chance to see it beforehand. Okay, so we'll talk about it again. Ernie?
The road, the agreement will also address the maintenance of the road.
Yes.
You'll have some information, and we're guessing.
Maintenance, access, restrictions, all kinds of things. All in a specified agreement.
Okay.
Would that be considered private road?
It is a private road.
I know, but does it continue to?
Yes. That's why we have multiple gates, to limit other vehicle access as well. You know, they're as concerned with people accessing their property as we are accessing our
Right.
road field.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess I have a number of comments and concerns about it, but we're gonna visit this again, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
this was just a quickie that, like I say, because I knew that she would probably be here, I just wanted you to have a little heads up what we were talking about.
Okay.
Okay? All right.
Well, thank you for your time.
Yep, you're welcome.
Thank you.
All right, we need approval of the rest of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the rest of the regular agenda as presented.
Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. So we can continue. Thanks for that hiccup there. I thought I saw her walk out. Do that. Board Education and Privilege Comment, staff reports tonight. Looks like we have no fire department.
I did talk with the chief earlier today. He asked if he should be at the meeting. He was at the last meeting doing his report, so I kind of laid out for him that you kind of broke this into a couple where you'd have two at each meeting. So he was covered last time, so I told him he didn't need to come tonight.
Okay, well, they've got all the reports in here, so they're pretty comprehensive. Dave?
As long as we don't have a presentation by the fire chief. I'm curious if we have a fire marshal yet.
No, we don't.
Do we have any prospects, or is there something else there we're looking at, or
Possibly.
secret stuff, huh?
It's not up to the board.
I realize that, but it concerns me that we don't have one yet.
Well, we have the position of fire marshal that was not filled. We do have two fire inspectors, and typically where you have a fire marshal is where you have multiple inspectors, and the fire marshal is a supervisory type of a position, the crew leader, if you will, in that role. So we have both on the day shift. We have Rob Cochran is a certified fire inspector, and Mike Gregorich is just about to take his test. He's gone through the coursework, and he just has to take the test, and then he'll become an inspector as well. So we'll have two inspectors.
Yes, Pete?
Could we get something in the fire department, and maybe even in public works, so we know the descriptions of our fire department, who they are? It came up in another meeting, and we really didn't know. So I thought, well, maybe we should have the name and what their duties are, you know, fire inspector and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah, we have that.
Okay.
Sure. We can distribute that.
Anything else on that? Any questions about their reports or anything? I thought they were pretty interesting, actually, the number of calls. If you go down to,
How about the attorney?
well, he's at the end. We're doing fire right now. If you go down, oh, that was the police report I was checking. I was thinking it was fire. The fire department's running around 80% EMS right now, if you look at some of their numbers. 38 calls in August out of 46. It's pretty substantial.
Those trends are pretty much nationwide.
Oh, really? Oh, that's interesting. Well, it's the fire suppression whole mantra. I mean, everybody's being so good about it. There's just less and less.
Well, the new fire laws, new training for people to be safe, it's really made a difference, starting right in the schools.
And we're still handing out fire alarms, smoke alarms, pardon me, for people. That's a great thing. Okay, Public Works. We've got our superintendent here. Anxious to get home so we can hear what he wants to share.
A few of the recent things that have been happening is we just finished negotiating with one of the tenants on our, that has a tower next to the Cox Water Reservoir, AT&T. They wanted to lease some additional land to install a permanent generator, standby power. So we just completed that process. We'll be getting an extra $400 a month from those folks. We have on asset management, our contractor just finished the cleaning and televising and assessment of the gravity sanitary mains. And a subcontractor to that contractor just finished the manholes as well. That's we have not actually seen his data yet, but we did see a sample of it when he initially started, and because our consultants have very pretty strict requirements about the format that they want the information in, and there were a few comments, so I'm sure basically right now what he's doing is manipulating what he's got, information. Tomorrow we're going to start sanitary lift station evaluations with hired UP engineers to actually do that portion. We are, there's some development happening that's, we got 3 properties real close to this building that are developing. And a couple of big ones that are a little bit more time consuming. We've got a redevelopment of a site where the Riverside Toyota is going to be relocating. That one is going pretty well, except they started some work without some of the permits that are required. So the other one would be another car dealer, the Fox Motors new Subaru dealership. So we actually, we're dealing with this like over a year ago, and they made some minimal submittals, just enough to get zoning compliance, basically. And they were aware of everything that's required for public works, stormwater management. They actually need to extend water and sanitary mains as well. So, but they did not, a year ago, do any of that. So now basically we're starting all over again because they have decided that they actually are going to build a dealership. So it's been taking some time, but still pretty much not a lot is happening other than, we're still reviewing with them, reminding them what is required. So I understand there's been some, complaints about what they are doing, which is basically clearing the land. And apparently they have not yet relocated a stream, which they are required to do. So But they're operating, we were told, under the, as, let's see, foresters or lumber. They're basically, since they're cutting trees, they're kind of exempt from all other normal requirements. Kind of like the mines, they can do whatever they want. So even including the fact that, they're accessing a county road without a permit. So that's, in a nutshell, that's what's been happening recently.
Were there any odd, strange revelations on the inspection? The line inspections that they've been doing? I've seen the trucks all over with their cameras and wires.
Well, no, like I said, I have not seen them yet. I mean, we just saw a
But I mean,
sample. I
no-
mean, the
nothing
conditions look,
flashing.
in general, the areas that we saw, which was a very small portion, look pretty good. And I don't expect there's going to be any major issues, but I mean, there are going to be some that I'm anxious to see, so, which I have not seen yet. And it's, even after we get the data, it's going to be a while before we actually get down to the, what exactly do we need to do, and when do we need to do it, and what's going to cost, that sort of stuff.
Is any of this stuff maybe coming to this budget, or it would be projects maybe? for
Well, I'd hope
one
to.
year?
I mean, I put some stuff in the budget based on what I anticipate happening. But in terms of, will I actually get it before, the real information before? It's gonna be a close call. I can't really say at this point. I mean, we're definitely getting closer to the end of the year, so.
Okay, any questions for Kirk?
Wondering if that lease with AT&T, is that long-term or short-term, or don't you know?
It's long-term, so, we've got a similar lease with Verizon, and they're actually on top of the tank, so,
Is that lease just for the land, additional land?
right. And in the case of AT&T, they actually have a giant corporation that's actually managing all of their properties, so we don't deal with AT&T directly. Apparently that's huge business. And this particular group is Crown Castle. They paid billions of dollars to acquire management rights to other people's property on behalf of another giant corporation, so. But from our standpoint, it's worked out pretty well.
$400 a month, that's nothing.
And there's also, I mean, it's so competitive that, we get solicitations all the time from other groups that want to take over. In fact, people even offering to take over our own property and manage that for other corporations. So far, we've been able to decline all those offers.
Everybody wants a piece of the pie. Pete?
Kirk, when is the county road commission going to do the next section on Ontario Street?
I have no idea.
I thought they had, was a plan 1 year do this, and next time they're going to go to Allen Street and then.
Well, that's a federal.
Yeah.
No, what they had was a 3-year chunk of money. They use that. So it's going to take at least 3 of these projects to finish Ontario Street, assuming that they're all roughly equal.
Okay.
But, they haven't gone beyond that 3 years. I'm not sure how that rumor got started because they were pretty clear in what they told us. But the anticipation has been, well, they're going to keep working every year. They're not. They're done. Until there's some other windfall of federal money or state money.
It's federal funding that's holding them up. The projects have been approved, they've got the projects designed, but the money has not been released from the feds. That's what their holdup was starting it. They had to wait, I think, an additional year before the first segment was released by the federal government, and now that's what they're waiting for now is the release of the funds, and then they'll do the next phase, and then the final phase when the funds are released from the feds.
And that's what it was. That might have been some of the confusion. It wasn't a 3-year, it was a 3-phase project.
Well, the 3-year was their money they got was a 3-year
Right.
chunk of
Yeah.
money.
Right.
Anything else for Kirk?
Along those lines, actually, speaking of the county, one other thing that was kind of major, it turned out to be okay. That severe storm, there was that severe erosion. Basically, a culvert collapsed at Vandenboom and Fair Avenue, which caused a lot of erosion, which basically totally exposed our water main. The county ended up replacing, I think there may be 3 different culverts in there, with one new, larger culvert. So, and, there was no damage to our facilities. We monitored really closely. I had as many people as I could put there, the whole time that they were there. So we were able to take advantage of that by actually, because it was a wider culvert, that meant there was even less cover, between the pipe and both the road and the open culvert. So we insulated basically both the water and sewer while it was exposed there. So we should be good for until the next rain event anyway. I'm sure they did a pretty good job. I'll give them credit for that. They did a good job.
So that's probably not on their dime either, is it? Is that coming out of our account?
That comes out of their maintenance.
Theirs?
Township, well, it's township
For
maintenance,
us.
it's the portion that, the portion.
Yeah, well,
that
basically it
is
just cost
allocated to
us
the
a few
township.
$100s for insulation, and
Okay.
I think there was not much overtime, maybe an hour or two.
Yeah, they had to excavate the whole area to remove the old culverts and do it. That's the section I was talking about that has not yet been finished, hasn't been blacktopped, it's still in gravel.
2 questions. Is our infrastructure located between the top of the culvert and the top of the road?
Yes.
And is that road repair doesn't come out of the road millage, does it?
No, no.
That was my next question. Just so everyone knows.
No.
'Cause I was asked that, I said, no, I said, that's not our project.
No, that's not a road millage issue, that's a culvert failure issue, basically, that also impacted the road, so the road commission repairs on their dime.
How deep is that infrastructure below the road, and how far above the culvert is it? Do you know right offhand?
It was like maybe 6 feet. And there's very little space actually now between the main and the culvert. So that's why we added, it's, the rigid insulation, like 4-foot wide sheets. And I think we used like 6 inches, I believe.
So that's between the culvert and the infrastructure?
Correct. That's just,
How big of a spot?
obviously for,
Like a 4x8 sheet, or?
well, yeah, but it was multiple sheets.
Right.
Well, it was basically the width of the excavation, which must have been 20, 30 feet. I didn't really measure it, but
Big
Minimum.
hole.
yeah, it was a big hall.
Did we put any insulation on top of that, or is that 6 feet sufficient?
We should be good.
Does that mean we put insulation on top of it, or we didn't?
No, we did not.
Okay.
Anything else for Kirk? Good, thanks. Appreciate the update. We don't have anybody here for assessing today. We're in between. If you remember, we had talked last time and when Dulcie was here about meetings that were happening about proposed legislation to change the way the assessing department works, basically. There is a meeting next Tuesday, she said. I don't know exactly where, somewhere downstate, where they will be, she's assuming, putting together some talking points to bring to the next level. And she said if anything happens in the next week or two, she will email everybody to give you an update.
Are those meetings televised?
Well, I don't know.
No.
I don't think so.
Everybody's.
She wasn't asked to go, but she could have gone. But she said that she'd already said whatever she was gonna say, so there was no point in repeating it.
I think everybody's pedaling fast, trying to get as much information out as they can before, everybody's afraid of lame duck, what's going to get passed in the lame duck session. So we want to make sure that all of the information is out to all of the folks who would be voting on it and that they understand what the impacts of the proposed language is. So there have been meetings going on around the state that most of them are not not being videoed. They're, I don't want to say impromptu meetings, but they're informal meetings, basically, to put together, as Supervisor Duran mentioned, talking points and things that they want to get across to the legislature before anything shows up in lame duck.
Well, it's interesting to hear and read up on different things, how they're doing it, why they want to do it, and especially down in our conference in Escanaba there, you know, how they spoke, what they said, why they were doing it, and it'd be nice to hear something from their point, because, you know, it's almost like something they're trying to shove down your throat, so.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. No bacon even, just, you know, just shove it.
Yeah, she's, I always have a problem with that.
I think they've heard in the three main meetings that they had around the state, I think there were some points that came out that they would rather not have had come out from the standpoint of those proposing the legislation. That I think caused some folks to rear back a little bit and review their positions, and then the results of the primary, I think, might have had some impact on it as well, as to who's going forward and who isn't.
I think you're right, Randy.
Okay. Mr. Z, what can you share with us?
Well, we've had a number of things in the last several weeks. A couple of them you've heard parts of already. We've been working on the joint maintenance agreement on the 30-acre parcel roadway that will assure 24/7 access for the township. We'll provide a complete review of any proposed gate placement. We've already been out there and actually looked with boots on the ground what makes sense to make this most conducive to everybody. Who will be responsible for what, assuring that emergency vehicles have access, things of this nature. We've also pretty much finalized the AT&T equipment lease. That's been an ongoing thing for years, because every time they put new antennas or new pieces of equipment on the parcel that they've been renting for quite a few years now, we have to take a look at the lease review. In this instance, there were also some easement amendments, and because if you're familiar with just where the water tower is, it's on a big rock. So we had prior easement descriptions, legal descriptions, that didn't really comport exactly with where the road and access was, so now that should be more consistent. They were also, as a practical matter, getting access instead of from the Cox side, from Vandenboom, so there is now a formalized easement that allows them to do that, so they aren't technically trespassing anymore when they were going that way anyway. I believe that is now final. It's not actually been signed, but I think both parties are on the same page. We've got one interesting issue with a site condominium involving a proposed lot split that we're taking a look at. And it's a bit complex because a part of the lot was discovered to be partially in the township and partially in the city. So we're just trying to determine the best way of moving forward and who has to approve what, given that nuance. We've also been pretty busy with at least a couple of meetings with a possible major redevelopment of a parcel in Marquette Township. We've had meetings with Brownfield folks and the county treasurer discussing that in detail. It may or may not come to fruition. But there are a lot of township concerns and angles on that one. We've also had some follow-up on a couple of delinquent personal property tax claims. I'm aware of one at least that is still delinquent. A couple of them have come in, but I just sent a letter, I think yesterday or the day before, that went out to the final one, which is also a cell tower entity, but not this one that we've been talking about. We've had a lot of time involving a FOIA request for the 2016 ballots that had to be responded to. This is a statewide request to every township that runs elections. And that response has gone out with an estimate telling them what it will cost if they want us to proceed with it. We have not yet received a response authorizing us to proceed with it. The authorization, of course, would be payment of 50% of the estimate of what they would owe. We answered one new tax tribunal appeal, which is the theater. That has been filed, and we will be looking at a potential use agreement with the Nokomis Trail Network to come to terms on what will or may work on the Schwemmwood property that we discussed at the last meeting. That has not actually started, but that's a to-do item that is on my desk at the moment. We're also monitoring a couple of zoning situations to see where they go. The Fox parcel that Kirk was talking about also has a buffer yard issue because it's on the edge of one zoning district versus another zoning district, and we believe that's going to work itself out once they get the site leveled and cleared to their satisfaction, that they are going to voluntarily comply without any intervention on our part. It was just a bit of a misunderstanding, I believe, on what type of a buffer is going to be required for them, and that would basically be along the backside where Northwoods Road is. And I think that's pretty much what we've done since the last report. I may have missed a couple little things in there, but.
John, do you have a question for him?
I do. I think Roger can help us with this. Some of the subdivisions are now becoming more interested in forming associations with the intent of implementing the covenants. I'm aware that the township board member may not, this is really a question for Roger, may not become a officer of such organization. I don't know that for sure. But I think we need to know that as members of the board. And then the question would be, if you can't become an officer, can you then continue to be a member as a resident of that organization? And can you continue to be a dues-paying member? I just want to make sure we're not having a conflict. And that would be for any of us if the group that you live with decides to form an association. And maybe that's not a question that can be answered tonight. I just want to throw it out there because I think there's going to be more of that. It looks like it.
Well, we can certainly take a look at that. However, my initial impression would be that there would not be any type of conflict in a membership. I can't see that a board member would be required to move because membership typically comes with purchasing the real estate if there is an association. A second important point on that, however, is that regardless of whether there are covenants or not in an association or that come with the land that an owner purchases, the township does not enforce that. That's something very distinct.
I realize that. It's just that when they want to file, what's the status for a board member?
Okay.
And I'll leave I'll leave it open. I understand it may take some research, but I think every one of us need to be aware of that.
Yeah, it would be quite different if the township was enforcing it. If it was an ordinance, such as a zoning ordinance, then there could conceivably be issues that come up. But the covenants are private contractual agreements between the developer initially and all of the prospective and eventual purchasers of that property. And it is up to the property association then to enforce, and the township's role, since it is so minimal or non-existent even, doesn't really lend itself to be of particular conflict.
I'm happy to leave it with you for your review. Thank you.
Thanks. Anything else for Roger? Dave?
I have a question. I guess I had some questions before that I deferred because we were going to address it again, but as long as we haven't actually finalized an agreement on that 30 acres with the access, the question that come out tonight is it doesn't appear that that 30-acre parcel is actually on any portion of that access driveway.
That is correct. However, they have
I understand that.
a perpetual easement
I
with
understand that.
access rights, but it doesn't
But
touch it.
What concerns me is the fact that the township is considering a security fence for back, for lack of a better reason, that in the position where it's at now and still moving a fence or putting a gate back at the end of their 30 acres when it appears the only reason the security gate is going in at the start of the driveway is for the residents' security, not the,
Well, there's two things. We have a pressure reducing valve there as well for the water system, plus an electric connection.
in front of where the new gate would be. Okay.
It also gets to the issue of the maintenance, who's going to be responsible for what, because potentially if there is now a resident living in there, that there will be more traffic coming and going. There might be, if there isn't a gate up near Grove Street in the, either near where the current one is or closer to Grove Street, you're liable to have an awful lot of people coming and going just out of curiosity, wearing down our road.
Is it?
It is not built to road commission standards. It's a driveway.
The question I have is, and I didn't realize till she said it tonight, that they're ready to close. I guess I thought we would have some input on that, but apparently not. I don't know that we could stop the sale or the purchase from her side, but we don't really have any say in this other than some small control on the road.
Yeah, the purchase of the property, they can purchase the property regardless of what the board does. I mean, it's privately owned property. What we're dealing with is the access on our private access road.
But
And
I
that's-
thought you couldn't buy property unless you had access, so that's pretty much guaranteed that they have to be able to use the road.
The sale, when we purchased the property, with the exception of those 30 acres, provided that 30 acres 2 access points to our well road. So that's in the sale agreement. So they have.
You really don't have any say.
No, so they have the 2 access points, and what we're trying to do is to negotiate where those points are to cause us the least issue.
Pete?
Question, a lot of people take their dogs back there, walk, so they won't be able to do that?
Oh, yeah.
You can still go down there
Yeah.
and take a bike back there and all the way down?
We're restricting vehicle traffic.
Okay.
Which is what we did
I just think we talked about doing something with that back there, you know, if it's possible, to purchase any land and that for, you know, different things back there. I'm just wondering if we're gonna limit ourselves.
No, the property we'd be interested in is on the west side of the road, and this only impacts the east side of the road.
But you still have to go down that road, correct?
That's still our road, yeah.
Yeah.
We don't give up any authority or use of the road, we're restricting.
Yeah, but say if I
others
wanted to
use
ride
it.
down there, I'd have to wait for somebody to take me down there because the gate's gonna be closed. Correct?
You mean in the future? Well, we have access to that gate, we have the key to the gate, we control the
I
gate
know
as
that, but
well.
I'm just saying for a resident, if you wanted to go in there and park and walk down there, or in the future, if we develop anything down there, there'd still be a gate out there.
Well, that'd be part of the agreement, that if we develop something.
We're gonna open that up.
Yeah, that's where we're ironing all those.
I just don't like to limit ourselves to anything, you know, that
No.
we can
No,
have access to that
We're
road.
gonna address all kinds of things, and we have had these discussions with them. As a for instance, you know, right now, it's a single family that's gonna own that 30 acres. What happens if they sell off a piece and there's another property? Well, then that'd be the third owner, which means that then they would have to develop that road as a public road. They'd have to bear the expense of doing all of that, and they'd have to meet additional ordinances, and that's why we're taking as much time as it takes to get all of this documented and all of it clearly understood before they close on the property, so they can't come back and say.
I just don't want us to
As a-
block ourselves from going.
As a for instance, there's not gonna be a school bus going down that road to their property. They're
Not
gonna
gonna
have
have
to
any
get the kids
kids?
out to Grove Street.
Oh.
They're gonna have to get them out to Grove Street. We're not gonna have, those kinds of things aren't gonna happen, other than during the construction process. Obviously, they're gonna have roads, they're gonna be responsible for putting the road back into its original condition. Those are all things that are being
Okay.
built in here. The other concern is we want to continue to restrict any vehicle traffic south of where their property is, going into our well field. So, that's what's gonna be coming back to you, and that's what Roger's been working on with them and
A lot
with
of questions,
with
eh?
their real estate. Well, it opens a lot of questions. It's it's a private development in a publicly owned area that is obligated to provide access. But we've also told them that everybody else who potentially is a responder there, police agencies, ambulance agencies, sheriff's department, gas company, us, fire department, they all have to have access to that gate to get to their property. Or they sign a waiver that they're absolving the township of any responsibility. May the house burn down because we couldn't get back there. The other piece of this thing is that they're about, 1,000 feet? From our well road back to their property is about 1,000 feet. They have to build that driveway to help fire department specs. 20 feet wide, 14 feet high, solid enough to support the fully loaded fire truck. So this is gonna be a very expensive project for them. So those are all things that are gonna be in here. The ordinances that they trip on, if they do something else, this ordinance then goes into effect.
We have a gate there now.
Yes. We're gonna relocate our gate south to where their driveway is, and it's right at the mouth of their driveway, so they won't be able to get past that. We have the only access to that gate, the fire department and, the township. The one that they're talking about is basically just, if nothing else, just a deterrent to joyriders not going down to see what's down that road. If we need to get through it and there's nobody there to open it, we drive right through it. It's a frangible gate.
Which is what we have now. We have a gate.
A
few feet away from where the new one is.
Roger, is that we got a gate here for our property, and then we're gonna have another gate to stop people from going down that road. That's what,
But we want.
what if, one of those questions, what if this?
In essence, all that's happening is we're putting an additional gate to ensure that none of their guests to their property continue south on the road. That's pretty much what's occurring. We have a gate there, we have a gate now, there will be a first gate, will stay there, but we'll be putting another gate, so we restrict.
Do we
anybody from
control the first gate?
Both gates.
So if they get a neighbor who wants a company, they have to go through that gate.
They're gonna have to let them in, close the gate back up. Yes.
Pete, if you've got questions, maybe you could write them down, and we'll have
These
to
are-
visit this
yeah,
again.
these are all questions that. have
Roger's
already
not
been
here
asked.
when I'm writing them down. That's why I do it now.
They're already written down.
Randy knows a lot of.
Those
the
questions are all
answers
written
already.
down. We basically pulled all of the department heads together that had any impact on
Good.
this or that property, and we made a laundry list of all the potential issues we could think of. We gave them to this guy over here, and we've been talking to the owners and their agents in regard to all of those items. So it's gonna be a very, very involved, very detailed agreement that they're gonna sign, and it'll also be future. What happens if something changes in the future? Who's responsible for what?
Okay,
I mean, we've even gone so far as what if you have 3 kids and you get divorced and you want to give each of the kids a piece of the property? There's still only 2 access points. And if you have any more than one more residence on there, it becomes, a new ordinance gets tripped, and you
Mhm.
have to build a road and all those kinds of things. So it's
Well, that's why I
pretty
asked the
detailed.
questions, and
Yeah.
come
good
up.
questions,
Yeah.
no doubt.
But again, it's like, everybody else who is adjacent to property that somebody else buys, who now has rights to use that property.
Right.
How do you control it? We have a little more. We have a little more control because that's a private road.
Right.
we're allowing to use.
Okay, thank you, Roger. Number 7 is consider resolution to formally commemorate Michigan's World War I centennial. Our treasurer put this on here, and I think John might have had something to do with it too, so take it away, Ernie.
I saw this on the internet in one of the websites I'm at, reading everything in that, and it just made sense to me, and that, because it's 100 years from World War I and that, and I felt the resolution was very well formed, and I think it was worthwhile for the board to take a look at it and move along with it as a resolution and that. And I'd like to myself try to commit to do something on November 11th for this. I don't know what it is yet, but trying to get that going. So that's where it came from. I saw it, I read it 3 or 4 times. I gave it to our supervisor, and she,
Is that a motion to adopt it?
I'll make a motion to adopt it, yes.
I'll support the motion, but I want to remind everybody that I'm a World War II insurance holder, not one. I'll be back.
We won't hold it against you, John. Any questions for either of them? No? All in favor? No, we need to have because it's a resolution, we need a roll call vote.
Yeah. A roll call, and the resolution is in the packet and will be in its entirety in the minutes also. So roll call vote is Treasurer Johnson,
Yes.
Trustee Marks,
Yes.
Trustee LaRue,
Yes.
Trustee Wiegand,
Yes.
Trustee Everson,
Yes?
Clerk Rattari is yes, and Supervisor Durant.
Yes.
Motion carries.
So as the clerk said, this will be in the packet. It is in the packets online. And it's to formally commemorate and honor the brave men and women of the state of Michigan who served our great nation during World War I. So just so you have a heads up. That passes. Thanks, Ernie, for sharing that. Set up a work session to discuss employee succession plan. So we need a couple hours. Are we thinking this week, next week? Next week's better for me.
Has everybody
This
turned
week is
in
out for me.
their availability?
Only 2.
2?
Okay, then we can't do it.
You can. We've done it before. I was just trying to head it off.
That was for budget sessions, though, not for this.
Yeah.
This week's out for me.
Yeah, this week's kind of tough for me too. Tuesday next week,
That's fine.
does that work? Do we want like a 1 to 3 again? Does that work for your
Yeah,
work
that's
schedule?
fine, yeah, that's
Works for
fine.
me.
Does? 1 to 3 Wednesday next week?
Wednesday or Tuesday?
Or Tuesday, pardon me. Tuesday,
Tuesday?
25th.
What's the date?
25th.
I wrote it down, so we gotta keep it.
1 to 3, Tuesday, September 25th, to discuss employee succession plan.
The 25th and the time?
1 to 3,
Or one, whatever
or
time.
yeah, if you just want to say 1, that's fine. Okay,
I'll move to schedule a work session Tuesday, the 25th, 1 to 1 o'clock. We won't go any further than 3. And the purpose will be to discuss the employee succession plan.
we have a second?
Of course.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
And we have all that information in our packet that we can use for that?
We've been getting stuff on the email and stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
What was the subject matter? I didn't hear.
Succession plan.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, anything could come up with any of us, too.
What I sent out to you in email attachment was a very, very detailed and lengthy succession plan kit. Basically, with regard to, that was designed by the state for general application, generally to large organizations. that have multiple layers of staff. We don't. So your succession plan could be as simple as, we're going to advertise when we have a vacancy, and then from there. So, when you're thinking about succession plans, think about it from that standpoint. How is it that you're going to plan to fill key positions that you, number one, know are becoming vacant, or number two, you're surprised by? And how you might prefer to fill those. And as I say, it could be as simple as, when we get a notice or a vacancy, we advertise. We have a job description, so we advertise for that, stating qualifications and skills and abilities. Or you have a plan in place, like the one that I sent out to you, that says, we're going to take this position and develop it to be the next leader in this position, and here are the courses that need to be taken and the licenses that need to be attained, and things such as that. So it's pretty much a blank slate for you to think about how in an organization this size you want to address key vacancies. And you really only got 4 key vacancies, really. A manager, superintendent of public works, planning and zoning administrator, and the assessor. And then in the fire department, you have more of a progression there, because you've got a fairly large staff. And typically you move up through the ranks, eventually attaining chief, or the same theory applies. When you have a vacancy, then you'll advertise. So just as a preface for thought process between now and then.
So let's get our dates. I'm kind of holding off to, I can work around you guys, but let's get our dates for work sessions to Randy. What's bad?
For budget work sessions, yeah.
That's, sorry. Budget work session.
Your 2 work for the work session, budget work sessions as well? The ones you gave me?
Correct.
Okay. I've got yours.
Okay. 8A is consider amendment to the Marquette Area Wastewater Treatment Facility Intergovernmental Agreement. Falls to Kirk again.
Okay, you just discussed this back in, when was it, August, I believe. Chocolate Township made a request to the Wastewater Treatment Advisory Board to purchase additional capacity, and the reason was they have an expanded casino facility under construction, and they need sewer service, which they do not have. So the board has already approved doing that, but in order for that to happen, the township has to pass a resolution and the intergovernmental agreement between City of Marquette, Chocolate Township, and Marquette Township has to be amended. So your resolution has to be to approve that amendment. So basically what's going to happen is the ownership right now is divided based on capacity. And and the fixed cost, it's called the demand cost, which includes the debt service, is based on ownership. And then the actual flow is everybody pays the same rate. So the flow costs are just divided basically by the gallon. So so this would definitely impact the ownership. So what's being proposed is a reallocation with 1% coming from the city to Chocolate and 1% coming from Marquette Township to Chocolate. So the net effect would be a reduction in our annual demand cost, which is right now looks like it's going to be like $15,000 a year. The actual purchase cost, there has been some discussion, and actually there was a number arrived at in Chocolate's proposal, and the advisory board discussed that number, and it was based on essentially, and we discussed it actually with our auditor, the total net position of the plant at the end of their budget year, which is September. So the original proposal was based on the 2016 net position. So now, we're actually having an advisory board meeting Thursday. We're going to discuss it further, and we're probably going to, I'm speculating that we're probably going to go with the 2017 net position. We could wait for the 2018, but that's going to be a while before that number is developed, because they don't even start the audit until October 1st, and that's going to take a while. So, and there's very little difference. So if we're going to go with 2017, it's going to be roughly $50,000. So there'll be like a one-time payment for the 1%. So, but the real benefit to the township and the city is basically a reduction in our annual demand charges. So anyway, for this to happen, each community has to approve the resolution approving the amendment to the agreement. And Chockley passed their resolution on September 10th, and the city's of Marquette's going to consider it next Monday, the 24th.
Randy?
I move to execute the amendment to our wastewater treatment facility intergovernmental agreement to reallocate plant ownership.
That's the second amendment to the agreement.
Correct.
Questions?
Dave?
John already seconded it, right?
Yes.
A question, guys. I thought the first time we looked at this, we were talking about a sale price of $56,000.
Right, and like I said, that was 2016 number. We're probably going to go with an increased number. It's slightly increased.
Well, you just said 50,000, so
Oh,
I thought we were lost $60,000 or $6,000 someplace in the deal.
no, it's the original number is 56,000. If I said 50, I misspoke.
It's part of the calculation.
The new numbers
anyway.
might be 57,000.
It's fine, as long as it's not going the other way.
Pete, did you have your hand out?
No,
I just got one more comment. In my memo here, I put the system is actually under construction. It's not yet under construction. They have all the materials piled along the road, but they haven't received their permits yet. So it will be happening. In the initial discussion also, it was October 1st was picked because they said, well, we're going to be finished by October 1st. Well, they're not, but the advisory board felt that, okay, we really can't wait till the last minute, because, for example, bond payments are going to be coming due here pretty quick, so we need to get this changed sooner. Plus, the city, who actually administers the budget of the plant, is their budget year starts October 1st. So these amendments are effective October 1st.
Any other questions for Kirk? Do we need a roll call on this?
Yeah, and also part of the motion will be the supervisor and clerk are authorized to sign.
I have another question.
Sure.
I don't see any reference in there to the cost. It's just a reallocation of the percentages.
Correct, yes.
Is that another agreement that comes someplace, or?
It could be, but basically it's going to be, essentially, everybody's agreed to this already, so it's just a matter of, and we've agreed on the method that's going to be determined, so it's just a matter of what is the number. Essentially, we're just going to send them a bill when that happens.
And I think you were saying that Thursday's meeting will give you that formula? Is that what you were saying?
Correct, yes.
Based on 17?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? Go ahead, Randy.
Okay, roll call vote is clerk retires, yes. Trustee Marks?
Yes.
Trustee LaRue?
yes,
Trustee Wiegand?
Yes.
Trustee Everson?
Yes.
Treasurer Johnson?
Yes.
Supervisor Durant?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
We'll get that done tomorrow.
We can sign it tonight, give it to him.
I gotta fill out the rest, so
Oh.
I'll get it done tomorrow.
Okay, sounds good. Committee updates. What do you want to share, Dave?
Oh, just a couple quick ones. We had the Planning Commission meeting of September the 10th. There was 2 actions taken. One was a public hearing for a special use for the short-term rentals. That was a rehearing, if you recall, because we had one adjacent property owner that wasn't properly notified, and that was approved. The second one was a public hearing considering the Halloween Superstore located over on Brookton Road, and that was approved also. As you recall, that was a special use because of its proximity to a rural residential area. The September 4th Road Committee was canceled due to a lack of a quorum, and the Recreation Committee tonight will be reported at the next board meeting. That's it. They do have a, and I assume everybody's got that, is the September 26th open house for public input on the citizen
plan.
survey, master plan. And starts at 6 o'clock. It'll be in the community room.
That's for the public, that's not just for us, so anybody who wants to talk about that, see if you can put it on your agenda. Committee appointments, I just want to touch on that just a little bit. We have some terms expiring in December on some of our committees, and Andra and I are going to get together next week and go over the dates and make sure that when I present the next list of all our committee appointments, that we've got the right dates. Because some of them were mid-year, and she will be in the process in the next month of sending out letters asking anybody who expires in October, November, December, whether they want to re-up. I've already had one committee member say they were not going to renew, so we're going to need a new planning commissioner. So if you know of anybody that wants to get involved at that level, let me know, or have them fill out an application. There's one online, or you can come in the office and pick one up. Not necessarily any experience required, but it's a job, sort of. But I'll get that list to you so that you know. I want to make sure of those dates first. We also did get another application for the road committee, so I'll compile all that and get it to you. I think on the agenda, I've already changed mine.
Yeah, that one
There was
that
a
should be
typo.
struck because it was actually just an
Yeah.
old. So manager's evaluation consider should be struck because it was, I think when
Just a
our,
typo.
Andrew put this together,
to-
she copy and pasted and forgot to remove that.
I just thought it was because it was so good you wanted to do it again.
Well, we lost our public, so we have no public comment. Any announcements? Anything you want to share, Randy?
Okay, today from the county clerk, I got, and these will be going up around the township and in areas where the public are around, but there is 2 on the door out there. It's just the statement of the last day to register, which is October 9th, at close of business. Will be the last day to register for the November 6th general election. And also the posting has the local proposals, which we have 3 of them: the fire truck, or the fire replacement millage, the library renewal millage, and the supplemental law enforcement millage. Those are our 3 local proposals. There's 3 state proposals. The first one is to legalize the use of marijuana recreationally. The second one is for the citizen group to adopt district boundaries for the legislator. The
Gerrymandering?
gerrymandering will be the second one. And the third one will be a proposal to authorize election day voter registration, no reason absentee voting, and straight ticket voting. And all those full ballot proposals can be obtained at the county clerk's office, and they will be on the ballots, of course, but anyone that wants to know ahead of time can contact the county clerk's office for the full text of each ballot proposal.
Would those be too big that we, let's see, October, we could get them on the bills?
I'm not sure if we can do that, Rod. Correct me if I'm not, Roger.
Reproduction, sure.
We will have on the website a sample ballot that will be on our website and will be posted on the door. So when those are available, we can let the public know, but I don't believe we can spend taxpayers' dollars to get this information out.
Even on our own?
On our own. I'd rather be safe than sorry.
We can put it on our website and on our Facebook page, and I believe we could also do an e-blast, an email blast, which is not really cost us anything.
Yeah.
Well, you can put strictly factual information such as what the ballot language is,
That's what I meant.
how much it'll generate in terms of revenue, but you cannot advocate
Oh,
and
no,
say,
yeah.
Either way.
please vote.
Oh, no, no.
Okay, well,
Yeah, I just meant I didn't know how much room we had if we could put each one of those, all
I-
6 of them.
I think the ballot's gonna be rather lengthy, so I don't believe we're gonna have enough room.
Okay. Ernie?
I just wanted to follow up on Roger's comment on delinquent taxes and that. We had five properties in that. One of them went in and paid everything off completely in that. We have another one, we have payments coming in, that should be done by the end of October if everything works out right. We had 2 that we didn't hear anything from. So in talking to the deputy treasurer and that, we kind of were amazed because these 2 we've never had any problems with. So she made a phone call, and didn't take long, and he says, we don't know what's happened, but we will be in, and they've been in and taken care of it, and we're working with one at this point in time in that, and we're hoping that's gonna be resolved within 2 weeks in that, at this point in time. So if you look at your financial statement as to what checks have been paid, you'll see that we have made a distribution to a number of different entities. As they get in and we get them finalized, Dulcie sets down and lays out who has to get what on a percentage basis, or actually on the millage basis then. So as the money comes in, we ship it right out again, and we keep very little of it. Most of it goes out to the other entities, when you look at our tax rates and that. We do all the work, get very little in return in that too, so.
What's new?
Any other announcements to
I got a
share?
question for Randy.
Sure.
Randy, when can you put the political signs out, and when do you have to pick them up?
Well, I'd like the planning commission to deal with this, and eventually I think they will, but just a general rule, which is really not enforceable by anyone, but it's 45 days before the election and supposed to be down 10 days after. So if you have a sign, I see them sprouting up. They're about in the time frame about where they need to be right now, the middle of September, for an early November election. So I hopefully I'll throw the ball to the planning commission eventually to see if they can put this in the sign ordinance under political signs, so at least we have a guidance for it. And I know it's not enforceable, but they could go out and pull the signs down, I guess, if it was.
We did talk about taking it up with a text amendment change to the zoning ordinance, and we're gonna take a look at it, but it's a process.
Yeah, very good.
The process should also include definition of what is art and what is not art.
Not with that.
Because it was a court case that somebody refused to take down their political sign because they declared that it was a statement of art, and the court agreed with them.
That's why it takes so long.
Managers report then?
You do have a printed report. I did want to bring attention to the article with regard to Lions Field. We are experiencing continuing vandalism at Lions Field. The most recent events were the theft of the infield drag from Lions Field. Somebody stole that under the cover of darkness, and that's being investigated by the Sheriff's Department. And most recently, damage to the women's restroom in the warming facility where someone removed the sink from the wall. That has been repaired, but as a result, we will be closing the warming building at the close of shift when our building and grounds caretakers go off shift at 5:30 in the evening. They will be locking the facility. We will not have it be open after hours like we have in the past, and having them go back and closing it at 10 o'clock. There's just too much damage being done. So if anybody knows of any perpetrators of the incidents at the Lions Field, please let us know, because it's impacting your use of the facility. Secondly, reminding everybody that hunting seasons are now open as of September 15th. Small game season opened October 1st. The bow hunting deer season will open. I believe the 23rd or the 25th of September, bear hunting season opens. When does that open?
September 10th.
Oh, so it is open already,
It is
September 10th. And then firearm deer opens November 15th. All of those activities can legally take place in Marquette Township outside of an occupied space, which means most of the places that the trails are on are in areas that individuals can be hunting. So it's strongly recommended that you wear bright colors and make your presence known when you're in the area during the time of hunting, which would be basically through the end of November. We have 2 new deputies servicing well, I shouldn't say 2 new. We have 1 new deputy and 1 that's been reassigned to the day shift. Deputy Loonsfoot is now on our day shift, and Deputy Gill will be on our afternoon shift. Former deputy, Dwayne Ward, has transferred to the courts, so he's now a court security officer. And it happens periodically. Those positions go up for bid. Not that he didn't like working in the township, but the hours with the court are better hours, and that's what you look for. They don't operate on weekends, so it's a little more favorable duty if you have a family. So anyway, Deputy Loonsfoot has been with us for quite a while on the afternoon shift. He's now day, and Deputy Gill will be on the afternoon shift. Other than that, open to any questions board members may have.
The sink, did they take it off with tools, or what did they do?
No, it was forcibly broken from the wall, and the water service was breached. That has been repaired. We don't have the bill yet, but it's not going to be cheap. And the facility is open now. It was out of service for that day while it was being, well, actually for 2 days while it was being repaired. We do have camera footage that the Sheriff's Department is following up on.
We don't know who it was then?
We're trying to identify them. We have good visual.
Can you put that on TV6?
Not yet, because we can't, we're trying other methods to try and identify them, because we don't know for certain that it was them. We just have them on
You
camera.
have the film here?
I have a copy. Yep. Yeah.
Along with that, like the little rider you had here, would you put something like that when you send out the water bills? Because that goes to everyone in the township to tell
Oh,
them
yes.
what's going on.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
They didn't do nothing to walls or anything like that?
Not to, well, just to where the sink was attached to the wall, that had to be repaired, yes.
Any other questions for the manager?
Only other comment that I'll make is mark your calendars for November 27th at 6 o'clock for the Christmas tree lighting, which is our next event. The Community Events Committee is in the process of scheduling, so that will be on November 27th at 6 o'clock starting, and will run till about 8 o'clock. So more to follow, but we have several more meetings coming up with the Community Events Committee, and then we'll have poster put together and information for you to get out.
Right before our meeting, if thought we were not gonna do that.
What's that?
November 27th. Last year we did it on an
That's-
oddball.
That we don't have a meeting on the 27th. That's the following week.
Oh, I've got payroll, sorry. Sorry.
You are correct. We're not doing it on a board
Because
meeting
usually payroll
night.
falls the same Tuesday. I was doing it today. Okay. Anything else for the manager? Okay. Randy, you can review our motions, please.
First motion, consent agenda was approved as presented. The second motion was approval of the regular agenda as presented. The third motion was to approve the resolution for the World War I centennial. That was approved. The clerk will put that in the minutes. Fourth motion was to set up a work session for employee succession plan, and that was approved. The clerk will post that tomorrow or Thursday for next Tuesday, the 25th, 1 o'clock. The fifth motion was to approve the amendment to the intergovernmental agreement with the wastewater treatment facility. Clerk and supervisor will sign that, get that done. And that's it. No action items that I see.
Anything for the future agendas that anybody wants to have us look at? Okay. Any board member comment? Anything else you want to share or talk about?
Thank you.
Just need another motion then.
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? 7:57.